Welcome to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. I talk to Pawsome humans, people who do great work for dogs and their people. So come and join us for today's conversation. Hello and welcome to it. I'm very honored to have you here with me today.
Well, it's nice to see you too and find out what you are doing.
Well, my mission is to bring experts like you to people who have dogs and want to be the best people they can possibly be for them. So this is a real honor for me to have you here. So because I've seen some things about your work, so I'm very keen to share your expertise with people. So why don't you share with people where you're based and, what's your business
Yeah.
with dogs?
Do you know, I have been working with a lot of things up through the years and done so many different kind of studies and all kind of things. So there are many things that are interesting for me to talk about, and I don't really know what your people are interested in and what kind of people they are. Usually, when I speak to people, I know approximately where they come from, because one of the interesting things is that dog owners are not only dog owners; they are also very culturally. Uh, in each place they have some dog cultures that are different from other places.
That's
And
true.
if, for instance, your people are mostly from Spain, I okay,
No, they're
so
mostly in the States, in the UK. There's quite a few Australians as well, so all sort of
okay,
English-speaking countries.
yeah,
Yeah, no, Spanish people won't follow us if we talk in English.
okay, no, no. So it's always a bit difficult to say what would I like to share. Um Americans, US, and Canada. I would talk seriously about a few things to them. Australians, something else. European, something else again, because it's so different what people are doing.
Yeah, so let's go for the States because I think if I look at
Okay.
the statistics, most of my people would be in the States, but I'm really curious also like where you see those main differences.
Yeah, it is really amazing how big the differences are. And I learned about it when I traveled, which I don't do anymore. But I traveled a lot and I was a lot in the United States. And uh, what is typical about dog owners there is that they are so much into controlling dogs. They are so afraid of people thinking that they are not good enough and what the neighbors are saying. And everybody needs to think that they are good and they have wonderful dogs and much more than any other places.
Wow, I didn't realize because I'm very aware that in Spain the culture is very different. So
Mm,
it's
mm.
well, it's a tool, and if it doesn't serve me in some way, then
No,
so
uh,
it's probably
yeah.
quite the opposite.
So every time I traveled, I prepared very much by the culture I was going to work in. And going to the United States of America was always troublesome for me because what we are doing is trying to deal with dogs in the most natural way that it's possible to do it. We cannot be completely natural because our lives are not natural anymore, but we can do it as much as we can. And the way people keep dogs in America is very, very, very unnatural. So trying to make them be interested in letting go of their control and give F in whatever the neighbors are saying about you, and try to do the best for your dog. That is not easy.
I can imagine. So what, how would you normally start with people when they kind of think, oh my God, I've got to, and I do actually recall, when I had my first dog and
Mm,
you walk around the neighborhood and you have people sort of behind their windows and you kind of
mm.
feel already judged before they say anything, right? So how do you recommend you go about, okay, let's just, give my dog a bit
What I
more.
try to do is to tell people what is natural for dogs, what they like, what they want their lives to be. And that means they need a lot of freedom, freedom to move, freedom to think and do what they like, which is very, very strange to Americans.
Mm,
They always keep them under such control that they stay in crates. They have to eat a certain kind of food. They are allowed this, they are not allowed that, and they walk in very short leashes, and they are not allowed to do anything that dogs naturally would like to do. Uh, I always try to talk about how important it is for dogs and people as well to grow up with a kind of freedom of thinking,
mm,
trying to be creative and do what they like to do to develop properly. They need a lot of physical freedom to develop healthy for their body. And that is very important to me.
mm,
There's a lot of very unnatural ways of looking at dogs because uh, I feel that one of the worst things that has happened to the dog world is classes and training and scientists,
mm.
because they try to make everything by a schedule, a book, and
Yeah,
everybody has to fit into that.
yeah. So much more
And
room to get things wrong, right?
yeah, and when
Mm,
you put, we know for many, many years now that when you put kids into a frame like that, they will not develop, they will not thrive, and you will lose a lot of brilliant minds and wonderful people because they cannot get out of the frame.
mm. And that is the same problem, though, because I mean, what you just described, how dogs are like controlled every second and
Mm,
every, I'm like, well, aren't we doing the same with kids?
mm, mm.
It's very parallel, isn't it? So how can we
So
get some freedom
when
back
I
there?
was, yeah, and when I was traveling around in the US and saw how they stay in crates, they are allowed to take just a few steps here, just a few steps there, and there's absolutely no freedom of mind or movement at all. And I saw the result.
Mm.
I've never seen so many depressed dogs in my life.
Wow.
And people think they are well behaved and controlled and wonderful. And
Mm.
all I could see was depression.
Like shut down.
Not shut down, because that is, you saw that also, but that is the last little piece of it. But they are depressed, just
Mm.
like people are depressed, going around being sad, cannot think any thoughts by themselves. That is why so many people just follow what leaders tell them because they have never learned to think by themselves. And I always tell my clients, just watch your dogs and see how smart they are when they are allowed to think. And it is my belief, and not only belief, I know for sure because I've trained tens of thousands of dogs up through the years. I tried to count it. I given up because it's too many. But what I see and still see is that when you let go, when you let them be allowed to think and find out about things, dogs are so smart. People underestimate them incredibly bad.
Yeah.
They are so smart. And for instance, my daughter, I work together with her now, and she for a half a year now has been looking after a couple of dogs for some specific reason, and they are a typical example. They are just stressed and hopeless and incredibly, what shall we say, unsmart in many ways. And she has been doing what we always do. We let them have a chance to develop. And some time ago, she told me with a happy voice that today I saw the dog think. He was using his brain for the first time.
Wow.
And when people cannot believe that dogs can do that and control them all the time and keep them within these frames, don't let them develop at all, we get all these problems. We get behavior problems. We get what we call dog-to-dog problems. We get all kind of physical problems, and we get dogs who have all the problems you can think of in the world. In the wild, they would never had those problems
Yeah.
because they would have been able to develop and they would have been smart. I call them streetwise because they have an incredible ability to find out about how to deal with problems in daily life if they are allowed to.
Yeah. I mean, I actually found like 3 out of my 4 are from the street. And boy, they know their way around and they know
They
how
know their
to,
way. Yeah,
get food and how to, oh, I'm cute. And I know you're
yeah.
going to give me something, like they know
They
how to
not
figure
only
things
that,
out.
they found out
Mm,
about problems, they solve
hmm.
problems, and they
Yeah.
are so much quicker about it and smarter than people are. And when people ask me how intelligent are dogs, and I say, I don't know, but they are definitely more intelligent than we are because we do all the wrong things. They don't. I trust them 200%. And in my experience, in all the years I've been working with dogs, I've never been wrong in it.
Wow. Mm.
So what I want to tell people, please, please let dogs have a chance of growing up, develop their natural skills and their fantastic social skills, because we have so much to learn from dogs in that respect. I think that when people ask me about what kind of methods do you use, I say, I don't use any methods. I try to read and connect with the dog and then find out what the dog wants and what that dog needs. And it's very simple, actually. Dogs do not need to do tricks and fun things. Adult dogs are adult dogs and they think adult ways, much more than, for instance, Spanish people. They are much more adult than Spanish people. So, and we have to see what is necessary. So if I had a dog, the last 2 dogs I took in, they were adult when I got them, and I never, as long as I had them, said one command or asked them one thing, but they would always do what I wanted anyway, because they are so smart in seeing what we need, where they need to be, They follow where you are. They keep track of you. They are family members. They wouldn't leave the family if they feel good in a family. No way they would. And they will solve the problems that comes up. They will share their things. They will share their time and their food and their generosity with other dogs and people. They will be totally different than people see dogs today. Instead of putting on a leash, going for a nice little walk around the block and back again and into the crate and give him some dry food. I would never give a dog dry food. Never. They need food. They need to be free. I never had a crate in my house and will never have it. No living animal should be in a crate.
Do you think, because I'm thinking like when I first got my first dog, well, yeah, it wasn't planned move. It was like, here's a puppy, and like it's alone in the street. So all of a sudden I wanted one, but I was kind of like, he sort of found me. And I was living in the historic part of Granada, so very busy, very narrow. And so it was quite a stressful environment for a dog, as I realized seeing them, how, he and especially the second one was very sensitive, very like, this is like information overload all the time. So over the years, I moved like further and further away. So now I have a space where the doors open, the dogs come and go as they want. And boy, can you tell the difference in the way they are chilled out and, friendly with everyone. So literally what you're saying. And I find having the space makes that so much easier. So what's your take on people with dogs in towns and cities where there isn't that space available?
I wouldn't worry about it. There are, of course, you have to, when you get a puppy, you have to be a bit careful so they don't get into trouble with some unnatural dogs, because there are a lot of them also around. We don't have them because we don't have any stray dogs. And so we are quite lucky that way. But I wouldn't be too worried about, except for these puppies. You have to shield the puppies. You have to protect them. Like if a puppy grew up in a family of dogs, the older dogs would protect him all the time. He would be totally safe. Nobody would let anybody do any harm to that puppy. Adult dogs are fabulous parents and caretakers. Much, much better than any person, a human person.
Yeah. I've experienced that. This one, she literally raised the last one. The last one came, she was
Oh, yeah.
tiny and she took care of her.
Oh,
She
yes.
put up with all her puppy antics and playing and this, and it was the easiest puppy to raise for me because I had no work to do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the dog did it all.
Oh, yes. And I
Mm.
see that also. So they need to be protected. And the best if you have adult dogs to do it. But if not, you have to do it. You have to be a good parent for that puppy. When they are over the puppy age, they need to get out and get challenges, because they need to take challenges and work through it as well. When they are adult and have learned a lot about life, being to some certain degree protected by us and had the freedom to find out about things, they don't need that anymore. They will do it by themselves. They are perfectly fine in living in tight places and difficult places and trafficated places. I mean, dogs who live free in the street in busy cities, they they are never run down by cars because they know how to deal with traffic. I mean, in big cities, they actually go by the traffic lights. They cross the street on green light. People run. They run on red light, and the dogs stand there waiting for the green light. So who's the smartest?
Yeah. There was this dog who would regularly catch like different buses to go to a dog park by himself for years.
Hmm.
You would like that. I think just, yeah, this idea that we totally underestimate them. I was like, you can literally see that
Oh,
everywhere.
yes, we
Mm.
underestimate them. And it also has to do with the fact that human beings, we are the absolutely youngest creation on Earth. Of
Mm.
all the species that has been developed on this globe, we are the youngest. We are still greenhorns and in a
That's so
way
stupid.
idiots.
Mm.
We haven't learned to live and take care of ourselves yet. Just see what we do
True.
with the world. We are
Yeah.
destroying our own world. Dogs wouldn't do that.
No, no animal would be that stupid, right?
No, they wouldn't.
Mm. Mm.
We are so young and such greenhorns yet that we do all the mistakes and we don't seem to learn properly by it yet either. It will take some million years before that happens, I think. And by then we have probably erased ourselves.
Yeah.
So we need to now start to listen to what animals tell us, how to live and how to survive in a proper way.
Yeah. And in
And
harmony with what's around.
the
Mm.
harmony in a proper free dog family pack is incredible. They protect each other, they take care of the puppies, they let them develop and grow up in a healthy way so they become perfect adults. And when we get puppies, we make trouble out of everything.
That's so true. I mean, I guess it's this whole helicopter parenting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do it to dogs as well.
I'm not very impressed by people's ability to deal with dogs. All they
Mm.
can think about is, oh, competition, competition, oh, fun, 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 fun. For dogs, that is meaningless. When they are young and they can have some fun with we run around and do silly things just like young people too. But when they are adult and they take that responsibility really seriously. Adult dogs
Mm.
don't play. They don't run around looking like idiots like people do. So my mission, I feel, is more or less to try to make people see how natural we can be with dogs and try to do it the way that dogs would do it, as close to it as is possible.
Mm.
I never use a command to a dog, never. It's not necessary. If I want the dog to follow me, I just turn and walk, and they follow. That's nothing more about it.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And so, I mean, how would somebody go about, um, somebody listening going, oh my God, I wish I could just turn around, my dog would follow me. But like say if you have a dog who's kind of used to crate and leash and you think like, that's right, it's time to do something different, how can somebody start shifting?
And it will be a little different in each case because all cases are a little different. But as a golden rule, I would say, first and foremost, you have to stop all this commanding and controlling of the dog. When you go out and it's necessary to have control, okay, have a leash on, so nothing happens. That's okay. But you have to make a new schedule for yourself and your dog. Find a place every day where the dog can be free outside. Here in my country, we are now starting to get more and more and more of these huge enclosures where people can go with one dog and just let him be free in there to just feel free. That is,
So beautiful.
it is getting very common now, and I think it will be more and more in the future. Um, s- and of course, at home, always free in the house, no restrictions whatsoever. He should be just as free in the house as you are. If you are not allowed to sit on a chair, okay, your dog can get the same restriction, but if you are allowed to sit there, the dog should also, if he wants to.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. Okay, so free, a lot of freedom, places outside to feel free and move, not by running, and you stop all that ball throwing and stick throwing. It's one of the worst things you can do with dogs. It's completely idiotic. You have never seen in the wild that they run for the same thing 30 times in a row. No dog would be
Why
that
don't
idiot. They would never be that stupid. If they cannot catch it the first time, they don't do it. Finished with that. So learn from the dog. They know so much better what is good for them. Freedom every day. Then you can very easily teach a dog to follow you wherever you go. You can start training a little bit in your own house or just outside. You walk. You have to walk slow enough for your dog because people walk too fast. No dog has that pace of walking, and we have to do it at your own dog's leg length. The smaller the dog, the slower you must walk.
that makes
And
sense.
we have done some testing. We take the time.
Mm.
When we see a dog has a very relaxed and nice walking, we take the time from A to B to see how fast that is. And I never see people who walk slow enough. Never. They have to learn to do it.
Mm.
So we have to learn to walk with the dog, not the dog to walk with us.
Yeah.
This has to be a thing that we do together.
Mm.
So you walk out, walk slowly, and then you just change body, change direction, and the dog changes too. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
And you
it's
can
that
stand.
going together. I love that. I've naturally sort of done that and thinking like it's your walk, right? It's not about you running next to me. It's like we're out here because the walk's for you. So we're traveling together. And I got so much criticism from neighbors, like, oh, you can't let the dog control you. And oh my God, like
Oh,
what,
yes, absolutely. That's the best thing in the world because they are much smarter than we are. So
Mm.
I will that's some myth that's come up with all this scientific nonsense that they are dealing with, that we have to be the boss and we have to do this. And no, we don't.
Mm.
We are stupid compared to dogs. They are the smartest. And it works. It really works. So the only things we teach people is to walk slow enough for your dog. Let him sniff and explore as much as he wants. Because the number one thing for a dog is to be able to use his senses.
Mm.
First and foremost, the eyes, to look at what is around him. That's how he learns how to deal with and handle and cope with the environment, to see it, not looking at you. And one thing I have started a fight against, it's a war, a civil war against, and that is making the dog go looking at you.
Oh.
It is the worst thing you can do because in one way, it's physically damaging. They destroy their necks. And almost all adult dogs I see, I can say right away that dog has had to go and look at the owner in contact training because they are completely destroyed in their neck and back.
Yeah, because I have to kind
I
of
can
look
see,
up all the
I can,
time.
I
Yeah.
can see it right away. You can
Wow.
see it immediately if the dog has had to do that. And they have so much pain in the neck because that is painful. If you talk to people, and almost all people at some point have had some pain in the neck. And it is painful. And your dogs, people, most of you, your dogs go around with that pain a lot.
Yeah.
And that is why they start lunching and barking at the dogs when they go for walks. And they get irritable, they get nervous, they get angry because they have so much pain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we
Mm.
need to learn to go relaxed and enjoy being with the dog. We call it walking with a loose leash, a smiling leash, hanging, not tight at all. Let the dog explore and see and learn from where he's walking. Enjoy the walk instead of exercising.
Yeah. So true. So true.
And besides of that, the dog doesn't need anything.
Mm.
Freedom of movement for health and also feeling good. Have all the choices in the world what to do and be allowed to walk at ease, having a good time at the speed that is good for him physically,
Mm.
and being able to explore the world. Exploring is the most important thing that dogs can do. It develops them incredibly well. That's how they live in the wild.
Yeah.
They know everything about their environment, and that's what they want to do. And besides of that, you don't have to do a thing.
I love it.
If you want your dog to be calm, you just sit down in a chair and be calm yourself. And the dog will be calm because they settle in and do what they see we do. They copy us.
Yeah. And they observe us really well. I mean, I
Oh,
have like
yeah.
one of mine, he knew I literally made experiments because there was literally the slightest thing like, oh, let's go out. And he'd be like, oh, we're going out, right? And I'm sometimes wondering, it's like, am I giving something away? And I would make a point of not moving and he'd still know.
Oh,
Like
yes. Oh,
that
yes.
dog would read my mind, before I was thinking it
They
almost.
don't read minds, but you give away some electric impulses that you're not aware of yourself,
Yeah.
and it can be just a little stiffening of the body going out and getting ready. Oh, yes,
Mhm.
the dog caught that one, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not.
Yeah.
They are so good at picking up what is around them.
Totally, totally. And I mean, now I'm sometimes wondering when, I will sometimes I'll wear the same thing I would wear when I go out with them. And I'm like, there's literally
Don't
kind
bother.
of, it's like,
Don't bother.
just so
Don't
I'm
bother.
thinking like, isn't that interesting how they
Yeah.
always know whether they're coming or not, even though there
And,
is like nothing obvious that's different,
and when
but
you
for
think
them,
about
they
that,
know.
they are
Mm,
so sensitive to small changes of electric impulses in your body and brain
mhm.
from a distance even. And then people are actually using uh, their voice like, "Oh, don't do that." I mean, what the heck do they think dogs are? If I if I would like to praise my dog for something, I would say, "What a good dog you are." That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to say, "Whoa, what a good girl." So we have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
We really have. But first and foremost, let go of that control. And when you go out for a walk, leave the treats at home. Don't go feeding the dog. What the heck are you feeding the dog for on the walk? He's not supposed to go looking at your pocket He's supposed to go look at the world around.
Yeah. It's it's funny, but mine don't actually like I've never taken treats. Not interested. Like, no, we're out like sniffing and not interesting. Yeah.
Well, treats can be used sometimes when we do some serious training because that happens sometimes.
Mm.
But that is so rare. Otherwise, that's no point. The only way to use treats is to throw them out in the garden and let the dog find them in his own way. And I must say that I'm not impressed about the so-called experts either. We had some veterinarians visiting here so many years ago, and they had taken some behavior classes too, so they felt they were so good at behavior. And we were sitting out in the yard and talking about different things, and I was started to get really mad because they had so little knowledge about what they were doing, and I was really getting fired up. But I waited to see what was going on, and then they discovered that I didn't know what I was talking about when we talked about using the nose and finding things. They couldn't understand that. So I said, okay, sit still. I took some treats and I just threw it all over the yard and sat down again. And my dog started to search them. And these veterinarian behaviorists were sitting there saying, how does he know that there are treats there?
I mean,
So much for being
wow.
specialists.
Wow, that's scary.
Scary? It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And if we are dealing with specialists like that, we will never get anywhere.
Yeah.
So if anybody want to learn anything, don't go to specialists. Go to the dog.
I love
Uh,
that.
Ask your
Yeah.
dog, what do you really want?
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, I like to go out and explore a bit, and there's so many nice smells around there. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah. I love it. I think that's part of what my mission is with Soul Touched by Dogs is that seeing dogs as the wise teachers that they are,
And
because
you
I
know
think we
something?
so kind of
Yeah.
think we know better, and I don't, yeah,
And I got more and more and into these natural ways the older I get. And if I happen to be 300 years old, maybe I will be good enough at it. I'm still a human being, unfortunately. There's nothing to say about that. But I feel I've come a long way. And for many years now, we get a lot of clients coming with real big problems in dogs. And and they expect some very intricate and advanced techniques and training and this and that and everything. And that's not what it's about. These natural ways work also for these dogs, more for these dogs,
Mm.
because they have had a very, very unnatural and limited life.
So they
I'm,
can, I mean, that's good. That's really comforting to hear that they can recover and they can, they've not forgotten to
oh,
be a dog,
yes.
right? So the moment you allow them to be a dog, they can.
And there's a lot of people who, when I was traveling around, they wanted to test me. I said, "Oh, she can talk about being nice. Let's see if she dares to go into that dog." So they often sent me into dogs that nobody dared to go into. I've been into these dogs a lot. I've never, ever been bitten. Because if you behave like a decent human being, instead of a controlling idiot, dogs know. We still get clients with dogs like that now and then. and saying, I don't dare to let him loose because he will bite you, and say, no, he won't. He won't bite us. And he doesn't.
I can totally picture the owners be like, how is that possible?
Yeah, sometimes they sit there holding on to the leash and say, no, no, I don't dare to because he will bite. He never does. Never.
I mean, that's the thing. They're so much smarter than we think, right?
I trust dogs. I trust them. I feel I know so much about their nature, how they are, how they really are, that I dare to trust them. And so far in all my life, and with all the many hundreds of dogs I have been having my hand on, I've never been disappointed.
Can't say that for people often, right?
Yeah. So there's not much I can tell people to start doing. I would never say, oh, just start doing this and that and train that and do this. That won't help anything. You have to change your mindset and try to see and feel how dogs are naturally, and that is friendly, social, fantastically smart in finding ways out of trouble, and streetwise. And they are to be trusted totally.
So where can people go and get in touch with you and find out more about, and start changing their mind to really respect dogs the
Well,
way they
I
deserve?
do get mails from people from all over the world every day. I answer a lot of mails every day. And I can't help them very much because what can you tell on mail? You don't even know people and what they are doing with their dogs. It's not easy at all. I try to send them to any of my students that might be close by so they can get some physical help to do it. They often need that.
Yeah.
Because one thing is saying to a person, don't command the dog all the time. Oh, I don't do that. And when you listen to them, they have commanded the dog 74 times in half an hour without them even noticing that they do it. So uh, they can contact me, and I try to help people. I try to set them in contact with trainers who can give them a little kick in the ass on the right way if they want to. And of course, they can read my book about calming signals, but that is also quite misunderstood, particularly by Americans. They seem to misunderstand most things. So because they try to put the commands on calming signals, and they haven't even understood that it's a language. That's a way of talking. Um, so it's not easy, but if people want to, they can contact me on mail, of course, and I try to help if I can. And that's all I can. I'm not working very much anymore because I cannot travel anymore. I'm old and I'm not very physically healthy. So, but I do what I can, and I do have a webinar series for instance, the Nordic Education Centre. I suppose you have the
Yep.
press
Had her
from
on the
there.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had
Yeah.
Lisbeth on the show. Yep.
So those I have those webinars, and I think that might be a little eye opener to some people. And then not so much more I can do. I'm
That's
men
plenty though.
I'm a
Mm.
mentor for a lot of trainers, and try to help them overcome their fear of letting go of control again, because that seems to be a big fear in people.
Yeah.
What can I do if I don't have control? You will
And
be-
and what will change? What else will change in life once we start doing it?
Do you know, to see the change in a dog who all of a sudden is allowed to be a dog? The joy in their eyes and the way they all of a sudden develop and get self-confident, and you see a totally different personality
Yeah.
in that dog.
That's easy to imagine. Like and it's beautiful. And I think dogs need it. So thank you so much for sharing. This is almost like this 180 degrees. Like,
And
I just love
I
it.
have a
Thank
reputation
you.
for not being very nice with people, and I admit that. I need to tell them the truth, which is not very nice sometimes. That's it. My mission is to help dogs,
I love
and
that.
that's how it is.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming and thanks for sharing. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. If you haven't already, head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for weekly doggy cuteness, tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a Pawsome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, @soultouchedbydogs.com.